The worst deaths in every prison escape. Escaping from prison is the easy part of the story, on paper. What actually happens once the wire is cut or the wall is breached is almost always more violent, more chaotic, and more deadly than the plan ever accounted for. Here are 4 prison escapes that ended in death for guards, for hostages, and for the prisoners themselves. The Battle of Alcatraz. On May 20, 1946, inmate Bernard Coy, a bank robber serving 26 years, put a plan into motion he'd been studying for months. Working as a cell house orderly gave him a clear view of the guards' routines, and he'd noticed a fatal flaw. The bars protecting the elevated gun gallery had no mesh behind them. Coy greased his body, squeezed through the bars, and overpowered the guard inside, seizing rifles and pistols. Within minutes, Coy and 3 other inmates, joined soon after by 2 more, had taken 9 guards hostage and armed themselves. The plan was simple: march the hostages to the dock, take the prison launch, and disappear into the bay. It fell apart over a single key. One captured guard, William Miller, had hidden the key to the recreation yard door inside a toilet before he was taken. Without it, the convicts were trapped inside the cell house with no way out, and 9 armed officers already aware something had gone wrong. What followed was 2 days of gun battles inside the prison, as Marines and off-duty officers fought to retake the cell house room by room. Guard Miller died from his wounds. A second guard, Harold Stites, was killed by friendly fire during the chaos. By the time the smoke cleared, Coy, Kretzer, and Hubbard, 3 of the original escapees, lay dead in a utility corridor. 2 more conspirators were later executed for their role in the guards' deaths. It remains the bloodiest single event in Alcatraz's history. The Maze prison break. On September 25, 1983, 38 IRA prisoners pulled off the largest prison escape in British history from the Maze, a maximum security facility in Northern Ireland, considered nearly impossible to breach. The plan had taken months, built almost entirely on trust the prisoners had deliberately cultivated with their guards, learning their first names, easing the tension of years of hunger strikes and protests, until the guards let their guard down just enough. Using 6 handguns smuggled in through methods never fully revealed, the prisoners seized control of their cell block, stripped officers of their uniforms, and loaded 38 men into a food delivery truck that was never searched on its way out. 20 guards were beaten, stabbed, or shot in the process. One of them, Officer James Ferris, was stabbed 3 times during the takeover. He suffered a heart attack and died. A getaway convoy waiting outside missed the prisoners by 5 minutes, scattering the escapees across the countryside on foot. Most were recaptured within days. 16 men were eventually tried for Ferris's murder, but a pathologist testified that his stab wounds alone shouldn't have killed a healthy man, and every defendant was acquitted. To this day, no one has ever been held legally responsible for his death. The Texas 7. On December 13, 2007, inmates at the John B. Connolly Unit in Texas overpowered prison staff during a coordinated, hours-long operation, stealing uniforms, 14 handguns, a shotgun, an assault rifle, and a prison truck. By the time anyone realized what had happened, all 7 men, most of them serving sentences for murder, robbery, or sexual assault, were gone. For 11 days, they survived on stolen cash and weapons from a string of armed robberies. On Christmas Eve, the group hit a sporting goods store outside Dallas, tying up employees and clearing out the safe. An off-duty worker spotted the commotion from her car and called police. Officer Aubrey Hawkins, 29 years old, was the first to arrive. He was shot 11 times by the group and run over as he lay in the parking lot. He never made it home for Christmas. A 6-week manhunt ended only after the gang appeared on America's Most Wanted, and a tip led police to their hideout in Colorado. 1 member shot himself rather than surrender. The remaining 6 were convicted of capital murder. 4 have since been executed for Hawkins's death. The Dannemora escape. On June 6, 2015, 2 convicted murderers, Richard Matt and David Sweat, were discovered missing from Clinton Correctional Facility in upstate New York during a routine bed check. Investigators later found the prisoners had spent months cutting through the back walls of their cells, working through steam pipes and catwalks hidden behind the cell block. With power tools and contraband, smuggled in by a prison employee who'd become romantically involved with both men. They emerged through a manhole outside the prison's walls and vanished into the surrounding forest. What followed was the largest manhunt in New York State history. Over 1,000 law enforcement officers searching dense wilderness along the Canadian border for 3 straight weeks. On June 26th, Matt fired a shotgun at a passing vehicle, giving away his position. A Border Patrol tactical team found him hours later and shot him dead. 2 days afterward, a state trooper spotted Sweat walking along a rural road. When Sweat bolted for the tree line, the trooper opened fire, hitting him twice and bringing the manhunt to an end. The investigation that followed exposed years of basic security failures at the prison, and the employee who smuggled the tools was convicted and sent to prison herself. 4 escapes, 4 decades apart, 4 completely different plans, but the same ending every time. Someone outside the original sentence ends up dead. The wall, the wire, the gun gallery, none of it was ever really the hard part. What happens after is.